She opened the door before I could knock twice, as if she'd been waiting just behind it. The hallway light spilled over her face, soft, warm, and a little too close. "Come in," she said, voice steady but quiet, like a piano note held just a second too long. I stepped inside, and everything about her house felt like her, precise, elegant, but not untouched. Books stacked unevenly on a table. A half-finished glass of red wine beside an open notebook. The faint scent of jasmine, not perfume, something older, lived in. She closed the door behind me. The sound of it locking echoed longer than it should have. She wasn't supposed to be my professor anymore. The semester had ended 2 weeks ago. But she'd sent an email. "If you're serious about writing, come by. I can show you what the classroom doesn't." I told myself it was about learning. I think she told herself the same. Now, standing in her living room, the air between us said otherwise. She wore a loose cream blouse, sleeves rolled to her elbows, and there was a tiny ink stain on her wrist. I watched her tuck a strand of hair behind her ear, a movement so small it felt private. She noticed me watching. "Still so quiet," she said. "You haven't changed. I listen better than I talk." That made her smile, not big, not polite. Real. A flash of warmth in her eyes before she looked away. "Good," she said softly. "Listening is rarer than intelligence." She poured tea, not wine, though her fingers lingered over the bottle before changing her mind. When she handed me the cup, our fingers brushed, once, then again, when neither of us moved fast enough to pull away. It was nothing. It was everything. The heat from the cup pressed into my palm, but her skin was warmer. "Sit," she said, gesturing to the sofa. "Let's see what you've written." I sat. My pages stayed in my bag. She sat beside me, close enough that I could see the tiny scar near her collarbone, a detail I had no right to notice. We didn't talk about writing. Not really. She asked questions that had nothing to do with words, about where I grew up, who I missed, what I wanted. I answered too honestly. Her eyes didn't move away once. "People think youth is freedom," she said, her tone quieter now. "But it's mostly confusion dressed up as confidence." I wanted to tell her she didn't look like confusion. I wanted to tell her she looked like every answer I'd been chasing. Instead, I said, "Maybe that's why people like you still teach us." She laughed, the kind of laugh that sounded like it surprised her. Then silence. A long one. The clock ticked. Somewhere in the house, something creaked, wood, old and restless. She shifted slightly closer, enough that her knee brushed mine. It could have been an accident. It wasn't. Her eyes flicked down to my lips for a second too long. Then she looked away, pretending to notice the rain beginning outside. "Seems we're stuck here for a while," she murmured. I didn't answer. I couldn't. The air had changed, thicker, heavier. She reached for her tea, but her hand trembled. It wasn't from the heat. Then, a sudden knock at the door. 3 sharp, hurried raps that froze both of us in place. Her eyes darted toward the sound, then back to me, something unreadable passing between us. "Don't move," she whispered. And before I could ask who it was, she stood and went to open the door. The knock had been nothing, a neighbor dropping off mail by mistake. Still, it left the air between us fractured, like glass cooling unevenly after fire. When she returned, her composure was back in place. But something had changed. She didn't sit as close this time, yet the distance made it worse, an awareness that pulsed through every inch of space she left empty. She asked to see my notes again, her voice a little too calm. I reached into my bag, pretending to search, pretending not to watch her fingers tighten around her teacup. "I used to have a student like you," she said suddenly. "Years ago." I looked up. Her tone wasn't nostalgic, it was regret wearing politeness. "What happened to him?" She smiled without humor. "He graduated. Then he forgot everything except the way he once looked at me." Her eyes flicked to mine, a quiet dare. I didn't answer. The truth sat heavy in my chest. I'd been looking at her the same way since the first week of class. She turned away before I could say anything stupid. You should be careful with admiration, she said, voice barely above a whisper. It can sound like affection when it isn't. Maybe it can also hide it, I replied. The words slipped out before I could stop them. For a second she froze. Her breath caught, just slightly. Then she exhaled through a soft, measured smile that didn't reach her eyes. You're too young to mean that. I'm old enough to know when I do. Silence again. Only the rain outside, soft and relentless. She walked to the window, her back to me, shoulders tense beneath that cream blouse. You think being older makes you certain, she said quietly. It doesn't. It just makes you quieter about what you want. Her reflection in the glass looked younger, like the light was kind to her tonight. Or maybe I was. When she turned around, something in her had softened. She came closer, slower this time, until she was standing just behind where I sat. Her hand rested on my shoulder. Light. Testing. You're shivering, she said. I'm not, I murmured. But my voice betrayed me. Her thumb brushed the back of my neck, the kind of touch that means nothing if it lasts 1 second, and everything if it lasts 2. It lasted 3. Then she pulled her hand away. I shouldn't, she said under her breath. Why not? Her eyes lifted to mine, steady now, but filled with that same quiet ache. Because I know what it's like to regret something that felt right in the moment. Her voice cracked on the word regret. I wanted to tell her I didn't care. That maybe regret was just another name for something we were both already living with. But instead I just said, You don't have to be alone in it. She looked at me for a long time, too long. Then she reached out again, brushed an invisible thread of lint from my shirt sleeve, fingers trembling. This time, she didn't pull away. The rain hadn't stopped by morning. It drummed against the window, steady and unforgiving, a rhythm that made every breath between us sound louder than it should. I'd stayed longer than planned. She hadn't asked me to leave. Neither of us mentioned it. She moved around the kitchen barefoot, hair loose now, a soft halo of gray and black falling past her shoulders. I watched her pour coffee, then glance at her phone, then quickly set it face down on the counter. You should probably go before people start asking questions, she said without looking at me. People? I asked, leaning against the table. She gave a half laugh. Colleagues. Students. The world that likes to invent stories about people who spend too much time together. She said it lightly, but her hand trembled when she reached for the sugar. I saw it, the smallest giveaway of something deeper. My phone buzzed in my pocket, startling both of us. A message from a classmate. Saw you near Professor Hahn's place yesterday. Need notes from the midterm? She noticed my face tighten. Everything okay? Yeah, I lied. Just someone asking about class. The corner of her mouth twitched. You shouldn't have come, she said softer now. But you invited me. That was my mistake. The silence that followed didn't sound like anger. It sounded like fear pretending to be discipline. She came closer, slow steps on the wooden floor, until I could see the reflection of the window light in her eyes. You don't understand, she said. If anyone saw. I cut her off before I could stop myself. Then what? They'd think I admire you? That we care about each other? That we're reckless? She whispered. That I'm foolish. Her words hung there, heavy, suspended between us. The air felt electric, static before a storm. She reached for my cup to move it, but her hand brushed mine again, and neither of us pulled away. You shouldn't look at me like that, she murmured. How do I look at you? Like you've already decided something I'm still afraid to admit. The room went still. My heart was loud enough to feel in my throat. She was so close that her breath touched the side of my neck when she exhaled. I leaned in, not enough to cross the line, just enough to feel the pull of it. Her eyes flicked to my mouth, then back up, wide with hesitation. Don't, she said, though she didn't move. I'm not, I whispered. You want to? Yes. Her lips parted slightly, trembling with something that wasn't words. Then her phone buzzed again on the counter, sharp, insistent. We both jumped. She stepped back too fast, nearly knocking over her cup. The moment shattered, but the air still burned. She turned away, pressing her hands to her face. "This has to stop," she said. I nodded, even though either of us moved. Outside, the rain eased, slow, uneven drops now. When she finally looked at me again, her eyes said everything her mouth refused to. And somehow, that pulled us closer than any kiss could have. Days passed without a word. Her silence should have made things easier, but it only made everything sharper, like holding back an inhale for too long. I told myself to forget, but every time I opened my notebook, all I could write was her name, disguised in different lines, different meanings. Then, one evening, I saw her again, by accident, or maybe something that looked like it. She was standing in the university courtyard after class, coat unbuttoned, papers clutched to her chest, talking to another professor, a man, younger than her but older than me. He leaned in when he spoke. She laughed, quiet and careful. Something twisted in my chest, something too close to jealousy for me to name. Before I knew it, I was walking toward her. She noticed me just as he walked away. Her smile faded, replaced by the look she wore when she wanted to appear in control. "You shouldn't be here," she said. "I was just passing by." Her lips curved, not a smile, a warning. "You were never good at pretending." The wind picked up, lifting a strand of her hair across her face. I reached out before thinking, brushing it aside. My fingers grazed her cheek, warm despite the cold. She didn't move. "You can't do that," she whispered. "Then stop me." She didn't. We stood there, close enough that the world around us blurred, voices of students, footsteps, laughter fading into the background. "I thought we agreed to stop," she said. "We never agreed," I replied. "You just stopped answering." Her eyes darted away. "Because this isn't right." "Maybe not," I said. "But it's real." She took a step back, only to find the wall behind her. I followed, not close enough to touch, but close enough to feel her breath hitch. Her hand pressed flat against my chest, not to push me away, just to steady herself. "Do you have any idea what this could cost me?" she said. "Yes," I murmured. "And I'd still be here." The air between us pulsed, heartbeat against heartbeat. Her eyes flicked to my mouth again, then shut tight, like she could erase the thought by refusing to see it. "I'm not who you think I am," she said, voice trembling. "I don't care who you are. I care that you're here." Something broke in her expression, the practiced restraint, the calm facade. She exhaled, shaky, then whispered, "You shouldn't make me feel like this." I leaned closer, close enough that her breath warmed the side of my face. "Then tell me to leave." Her fingers curled against my shirt. "I can't." We were inches apart now, every breath, every heartbeat shared. Her lips parted, and for a split second, the world narrowed to that single point between us, inevitable, forbidden, magnetic. Then, just as I leaned in, a voice echoed down the corridor. "Professor Hahn?" We froze. Her hand dropped. The sound of footsteps approached. She swallowed hard, whispering, "Not here." But the way her eyes stayed on mine said it wasn't over, not yet. She didn't look at me for 3 days. The corridor incident had been too close, too loud. A student had seen her flinch when my name was called, a look that could mean anything, but not nothing. Then, on the 4th night, she sent a message. "Come to my office. After hours." The hallway lights were dim when I arrived. Her door was slightly open. Inside, she stood by the window, arms folded, the city light painting faint gold across her face. "You shouldn't have come," she said without turning. "You asked me to." "I shouldn't have." I stepped inside anyway and closed the door behind me. The soft click of it made her tense. There was something different in her, tired, guarded, like she'd already lost something she couldn't name. "I need to tell you something," she began. Her voice was quiet, too careful. "I wasn't just your professor. I was on the committee that decides who gets the fellowship. The one you applied for. The words hit like a slow drop of cold water. So, all this time? Yes. She finally faced me. If anyone found out, they'd think I used my position to influence you. That you. She hesitated, eyes flicking down. That you let me. I stepped closer, heartbeat in my throat. Is that what you think? No. Her answer was immediate, fierce. That's the problem. Her breath came uneven now, and when she spoke again, her voice cracked. You make me forget the things I spent years protecting. I took another step forward. Her back hit the bookshelf. The space between us disappeared. Then stop pretending you don't want this, I said softly. Her eyes lifted to mine, wide, uncertain, full of everything she tried to suppress. I want to, she whispered. And that terrifies me. She reached for the edge of the desk beside her, steadying herself. Her fingers brushed mine, not by mistake this time. I've done everything right my whole life, she said. Everything by the book. And still, look at me. Her hand trembled. I caught it gently, pressing it between both of mine. You're human, I said. That's all I see. Her gaze searched my face like she was memorizing it for when she'd have to forget. Then she said it, the thing that shifted everything. I knew about your essay. The one you wrote about me. My pulse stopped for a beat. I read it before I invited you that first night. I froze. You weren't supposed to. I did, she said, stepping closer. And I think I invited you because I wanted it to be true. The room spun, quiet, heavy, too full of air. She looked up at me, trembling, her lips inches from mine. So tell me now, before this goes any further, were you writing a story, or was it me? I didn't answer. Couldn't. She exhaled, eyes glistening, and whispered. Then we both know it's too late. And as the clock ticked between us, she didn't step back this time. The office was too quiet. Even the hum of the old radiator had stopped, as if the room itself was holding its breath. She stood in front of me, her back against the desk, eyes locked on mine. Her pulse was visible in her throat, steady, trembling, alive. Say something, she whispered. I don't know what to say. Then tell me what you want. Her voice was low, almost breaking. I took a breath that didn't reach my lungs. You already know. She looked down, fingers twisting the edge of the desk. You think this is simple, but it's not. I have a life. A reputation. Things that don't survive rumors. I don't care about rumors, I said. You will, she replied, looking up. When this costs me everything. The words hurt more than I expected. I moved closer anyway, close enough to smell the faint mix of rain and paper on her skin. You think I want to ruin you? I asked. I think you already could. For a long moment, neither of us moved. The space between us felt like something alive, fragile, dangerous. She reached up, fingertips brushing my collar as if to fix it, but her hand stayed there too long. My heart pounded so loud I was sure she could hear it. I read your words, she said softly. Every line. You saw me more clearly than anyone ever has, and that scared me. Why? Because I liked it. Her voice cracked. I wanted someone to see me, not the professor, not the woman who knows better. Just me. I reached for her hand. She didn't pull away. You are seen, I said. Her breath hitched, and in that small sound, everything changed. We stood inches apart, close enough to feel warmth, to feel the rhythm of hesitation and want colliding. Her eyes flicked from my mouth to my eyes, then back again. I could taste her indecision in the silence between us. This is the moment we ruin everything, she whispered. Or save it, I said. Her lips parted like she might answer, but instead she stepped forward, just 1 inch, until her forehead rested against mine. Her breath trembled against my cheek. We can't, she murmured. Then tell me to stop. She didn't. The world outside disappeared. No students, no rules, no future waiting to punish us. only the sound of our breathing and the pulse of something inevitable. Her hand lifted, fingertips tracing my jaw, hesitant, reverent. "You'll remember this differently than I will," she said. "You'll think it was possibility. For me, it's consequence." "I don't care," I whispered. "I know." The pause stretched so long it became its own confession. Then, she leaned in, not enough to close the distance, just enough to make every nerve ache for it. And just as our lips nearly met, she whispered, "Don't let this define you." Her hand slipped from my face. And in that half-second, suspended between wanting and restraint, I understood her completely. She wasn't stepping away from me. She was saving what was left of herself. I didn't see her for weeks. The semester ended, the halls emptied. Her office door stayed closed, her nameplate quietly missing one afternoon like it had been wiped away overnight. I thought that was the end, a story that never got to finish its sentence. Then, one evening, I saw her again. At the old cafe near campus. The same one she used to grade papers in, always tucked by the window where the late sun caught her hair. She was there, sitting alone with a cup of tea that had gone cold, staring at nothing. For a long minute, I just stood by the door, watching her, the woman who'd taught me more about restraint than any lecture ever could. When she finally noticed me, something unspoken passed across her face. Surprise first, then warmth, then that same quiet ache we both still carried. "You look different," she said when I sat down across from her. "So do you." She smiled. "That's what time does." There was no tension now. Just a calm recognition, a soft gravity that pulled us closer in a gentler way. "I resign," she said finally, stirring her untouched tea. "I'm taking time off. Maybe too much time." "I heard," I said. "I'm sorry." "Don't be," she said, shaking her head. "It wasn't punishment. It was choice. I needed to remember who I was before I started hiding behind rules." She looked up, eyes steady on mine. "You made me remember." I didn't know what to say. So I just reached across the table. My hand found hers. Her fingers hesitated before curling into mine, not a desperate hold this time, just quiet understanding. "I used to think," she said slowly, "that wanting something wrong made it worthless. And now I think it just makes us human." The late afternoon light shifted through the window, touching the lines at the corners of her eyes, the faint silver in her hair. I'd never seen anyone look more beautiful in stillness. "I was afraid of what this meant," she said. "For my life. My career. My dignity. And now?" I asked again. She smiled, faint but real. "Now I'm just afraid of not saying goodbye properly." I stood, walked to her side. She looked up as I leaned down. No kiss, just my hand brushing a strand of hair from her face, fingers lingering longer than they should. Her breath trembled, but she didn't move away. "Then don't," I said. She rose slowly, close enough that I could feel her warmth again, familiar, grounding. Her hands rested against my chest, steady now. "Maybe goodbye isn't the right word," she said. "Maybe it's just later." I nodded. "Later, then." And for the first time, we didn't look away. She left first, her silhouette framed in the fading light. I stayed for a while, hands still warm from hers, realizing some stories don't end, they just find quieter ways to continue. Did you enjoy the story? What kind of stories would you like to hear next?